So, guys, we are back with another episode of the Laymans, and we have a fantastic
The
guest.
Laymans Project, man.
The Laymans Project.
Thanks, man.
All right. Back with the Laymans Project. Thank you very much, Franz. And we have an extremely entertaining guest in store for you guys this evening. Franz, would you like to tell us a little more about this fabulous woman?
Definitely. But first, according to Psychiatric Times website, laughter lowers blood pressure, epinephrine, and glucose levels, and increases glucose tolerance. Laughter also assists in the recovery and prevention of cancer by increasing natural killer cell activity and improves the defense against respiratory infections. Humor and laughter produce a discharge of endorphins with both euphoric and calming effects. And with that in mind, our guest today could be considered a drug dealer.
So
Or a
it's
traveling
literally
doctor.
the best medicine.
It is that was what I was getting to.
Therapist.
Therapist, doctor.
Your local
Laughter is
dealer.
indeed the best medicine. Rhea-Simone Auguste,
Dr. Simmy, PhD.
aka Simmy De Trini, PhD, wears many hats, and I just assigned her doctor one as well. She is an award-winning journalist, an IREX Community Solutions alumni, and activist/advocate for neurodivergent children, mental health, and domestic violence survivors. A radio personality on Talk City 91.1 FM, and a stand-up comedian. Hence the laughter intro.
That's not laughter.
Right on.
That
Applause.
sounds
Well-
like strip club kind of. Take it
Well,
off.
I mean, I did speak to the guys about that, but,
That
uncontrollable
sounds
at times.
Nothing like laughter. But I'll take it. I'll take it.
So,
Okay, guys, let me tell you all something about Fluke Designs. Today's sponsor will allow you to furnish your home with cabinetry and countertops. Their professional designs provide various options, allowing you to seamlessly integrate appliances into your living space. You can also have hurricane impact windows and doors designed and built with laminated glass. You guys can check them out on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. They provide free video chat consultations with their designer, or a site visit can be arranged. In case you'd like to book an appointment, please call or WhatsApp 388-5279. That's 388-5279. And don't forget to use promo code Laymans to save 5% on your order. Fluke Designs. You dream, we design, and build.
so Simmy,
Thank you for
strip-
having me,
strip
guys.
club.
welcome to the Laymans Project. That is plenty hats for real.
Yeah.
And I hope you could explain a couple of them. But, comedian, you have a show coming up. Let's not bury the lead. Lead with that, and then we'll go into how you got into the comedy lifestyle in the first place.
Right. So, Stand Up Down South is happening on Sunday, June 2nd at 6 p.m. at Sapa, and it is my 7th anniversary in stand-up comedy in Trinidad and Tobago.
Applause track.
Yes, we'll take the strip club applause track again.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you kindly. Thank you.
So,
That track is way too long, horse. You need to
no,
cut
because
it.
remember, you could talk through it. It's not like a big issue. It'll be like
It's overpowering.
like the Daily Show. When they're talking, it's like, okay, guys, stop.
Well, the show is coming up, and I am doing it on the heels of my Queen's Hall show, which took place in March, which was fully sold out. And this show is completely different. So the first thing I want people to understand is I never do the same show twice. The way that we do stand-up comedy and the way that I structure my shows specifically, you can't get the same show twice. You may get some of the jokes, but it's very unlikely because stand-up comedy is very flexible in its nature, in that you may come out and something may have taken place that just recently happened, like for example, the shark attack in Tobago, which did not happen until after my show. So now I have material, I have new material that I can play around with that will be incorporated in this show. And I always try to make sure that when a new show is launched, that people who came from the last show have something fresh to talk
Something new
about,
to look-
something
yeah.
new to look at.
So you integrate relevant events into your material.
Yes, I do. And I like to make sure that I have like a nice balanced mix of current affairs, a little slackness. Some people like the little juicy jokes as well in the mix.
We all do.
Yeah, no, we
No?
don't all do.
Okay.
Trinidad and Tobago has a hypocrisy issue
Yes.
where some people will go out comfortably for carnival in next to nothing, listen to songs about jamming, and then afterward feel very uncomfortable with you having a joke with some sort of sex in it on stage. So it happens.
All right, that doesn't make any sense to me personally. I feel like. So are these people like your typical comedy show goers? Because I mean that's comedy most of the time.
No, there are some people who feel as though they need to present a clean comedic experience because they don't like, and I'm not saying the cursing, I mean, they just don't like anything that
Lewd.
to them. And everybody's lewd line is different. But for what my experience has been in Trinidad and Tobago, you have some comedians who they are comfortable doing any of their material. There are some like Kes Ramsey. He does clean Christian material. And so he has a show Christians Can Laugh Too. And that is geared toward that kind of audience. You have people, like recently there was a Mother's Day show that came up, I think it was Million Laughs. Alan and Jara Nurse. And obviously there's a particular crowd that loves a particular type of comedy that does not touch on these topics. So you avoid anything that may come off as a little slack, a little rude.
I mean, yeah, but in a situation like that, you could establish yourself as this is my style of comedy. I mean, so people should already know what they're walking into.
Well, for me, yeah, I actually know. When I first started, that was one of the biggest issues I had to overcome. Because I come from a Catholic family and a background where I was uncomfortable at first with some of my own material. Like, what is my family gonna think? And I also had the corporate side of me because what are my colleagues going to think? Me coming from that journalism background and having a particular image. And then here am I cracking a little pum-pum joke in the mix of things. And it's only in the last year, I would say, that I started to get comfortable and say, you know what? If you have a problem with me making a joke that is somewhat sexual, like I have a joke that's out right now. It's called the empowerment bottom joke, where a friend of mine told me he likes plus size women, and he really just liked a plus size woman, and that's because she ate his bottom after sucking empowerment. And I was like, bro, that's not representational of all plus size women.
I was really wondering how the empowerment bottom joke was going to come about. But
No,
you know what I was wondering about? Because he's like, he likes plus size women because so it's like,
yeah, unexperienced one.
I was about to ask, so is that a plus size woman thing? Do I need to?
Absolutely not, because I like snowmen. And the thing about that is it adjusts to what I would do on stage. So me doing a joke like that, I'm not cursing, I'm not dropping F-bombs, I'm talking about somebody's experience.
It's relatable.
It may be. Maybe.
to some people,
To some people.
I mean, not me, but
you just said it's relatable.
no.
so
I mean, it could be relatable. Is what I meant. It
you
could be
have
relatable.
serious foot and mouth disease
Wow.
in this project, boy.
Yeah,
Anyway.
No, but the thing is, I know my jokes and my sense of humor has a market. And I know this because I'm now comfortable. When I do certain jokes, I know I get a response from them. And so I have gotten to the point where I stopped thinking, I stopped listening to the negative voices in my head that say, oh, what is so and so going to think and what is so and so going to think? And I've now leaned in to what do I think? I think this is funny. I want people to laugh. And my vibe attracts my tribe. So the people who like it will laugh and they will enjoy it. And the people who don't, they're probably going to leave the show thinking, ooh, this girl.
Simmy, could I offer you another drink or maybe a snowmint? I don't know.
Nah, I'm good. I'm good with my
All right, terrific.
Good recall.
my aqua.
Well used.
Yeah, but generally speaking, I've gotten to that point now where this is who I am. If you like me, great. We can move forward and you can come out to my shows and you're going to have a great time. You know what I come with. And if you don't, if you feel uncomfortable, if you think you can't come to my show because your granny will be uncomfortable, if you think you can't bring your granny or your mother because I might drop a little loose joke, cool, no problem. I also know from experience from my other shows, some people come with their moms or their grandmoms, and granny and mom, adults,
Dying
they
laughing.
listen, they billing it. Sometimes they're the ones coming after the show, the little grannies and tanties, and they are loving it and they are enjoying it. Because why? I'm saying things that women, especially, we talk about. We will talk about with our friend groups. We would so you. I think sometimes people build in their mind what they think their mom and their aunt or their grandmom would feel uncomfortable about, not realizing that self granny and them was so how will they feel when they reach here? How you feel granny had 8 and 9 children? You feel granny never built?
Everybody was young once.
Personally,
Did
I
it.
like looking at Simmy's material. I appreciate the provocative segments because, like I mean, women are allowed to be sexual too. There's nothing like there's no issue with that. Are you thinking to yourself, oh no, well, how could she have these kind
How
of it's
unladylike.
just the human thoughts.
No, but there are people who do it, and I think it has affected me to some extent, where there are certain gigs and certain opportunities that will fly over my head because they've billed me as a comedian, and this is the kind of material that I do. So I can't fit into this particular mold. When in fact, I have been able to do perfectly clean. I've performed at the Christians Can Laugh 2 show. I've done corporate shows. I've performed for the governor of Central Bank. I've performed in corporate spaces where there was no rude jokes, no spice, nothing whatsoever. Because for me, it comes down to my writing ability.
Yeah, because
I prepped
you're a
before.
versatile and talented comedian, and
And I prep before. I don't just show up
Yeah, you're a
and be like,
professional.
all right, let's brock out all the bullying jokes. I've actually
One size fits all.
I've done stand up at church harvests. That's to tell you. Do you really think I will stand up in a church harvest and start to bust out my greatest Powerman Bamsi joke? No, because the father priest gonna watch me like the blood of Jesus, ma'am.
I rebuke it.
This is not appropriate for this
But,
kind of congregation. So I know what I can do. But what am I comfortable with is not having any sort of limitations on my material. And that means not having corporate limitations, not having religious limitations, being free to be my authentic self when I do my stand-up. And that's
which
where
is
I'm
why
at
you
now.
do your own shows.
That's why I'm now doing my own shows and I'm funding it for myself. I do have corporate support some of the time, not all of the time, but those who come on board, they know what they're signing up for. But they also know that I also toe the line as well. Like, again, I'm not going to do a show that I know I have corporate backing for and choose that moment to start to do some political jokes. Or I'm not a political comedian. I don't do politics. I really don't do religious jokes. I try to avoid those areas that make people feel polarized one way or the other, you know?
But that's like a popular, I guess, comedy style. Like I have noticed with comedians from the States, so they really go for you know,
Political.
political controversy, race jokes, um, and I mean, not like I want to encourage these kinds of agendas, but it seems to work. I mean, I don't know. What's your opinion?
What what is my opinion is that comedy works best when you're speaking from a place of knowledge as well as your own personal experience and what affects you. Now, if there was something political that affected me so greatly that I felt the need to speak about it, I probably would. But I don't at this time. And I also feel as though because I'm still on the younger side of my journey as a comedian, there are so many things that I have to say that I don't need to tap in as yet to things that are controversial that I'm saying it just for the shock value. I'm now in this position where I want people to know who I am so that we could start building this relationship together. It's a relationship that's being built, where people who are coming out to my shows are starting to know who I am, getting very little bits about my own history, my background, my family, my views on different things, and we will grow together. And that's how a lot of comedians do grow. And it's not to say that this doesn't work for some people, but there are also beautiful examples of comedians who never go near political topics and they function quite well. Jim Gaffigan is a really great example. I love Jim Gaffigan's work because he is, for the most part, a clean comedian, yes,
Yeah.
but he also is able to straddle doing a little rudish joke here and there, and his content is not offensive. He's more self-deprecating. I think that is something that I identify with. I have a self-deprecating sense of humor because if I can't laugh at me, then we're gonna have a problem here. So it starts with that ability to laugh at myself and my own mistakes, being able to look back and reflect on things that I would have done in the past, and being able to laugh at it and move past. You hit the nail on the head when we started, and you said it can be very therapeutic, not just for the audience, but for me as well. Because sometimes I may use comedy to process something that was previously a really bad experience. But now I could look back and be like, Kill, you was real fully done, boy.
Yeah, because that's how I would look at it. When I followed a few, well, mostly American comedians from where they started doing skits, and then they moved on to do stand. Now I'm not even sure which came first, whether it was the chicken or the egg. But I know my exposure started with the little skits on Instagram, and then from that I'm seeing they're promoting shows on Instagram, okay, I'm gonna be performing at this venue in Michigan, we're gonna be in, so they have a tour established now from doing skits like
So
that.
I think maybe you may be referring to the major hype kind of comedians who built their following on the skits and then leveraged it for shows, which is perfectly fine. I mean, a lot of people misuse their social media, I find, because social media is a tool. It is media. Just the same way like a newspaper and television is media and you can advertise, you can use your social media to build a following and then use that as a funnel as sales towards your shows or towards whatever you choose to do.
You're showcasing your talent.
Yeah,
basically, so.
exactly. In Trinidad, we have a few examples of that now that's really popular. Jovel Jr. Limo is a stand-up comedian, but he's building his following with a lot of the videos, and him and Kyle and Certified Samson, Rody, they do a lot of skits. Now, I have worked with all of these men as stand-up comedians. A lot of people have never seen Rody do stand-up comedy. He's very funny. Certified Samson, same thing. He did a show with me at Woodford Cafe doing stand-up. He's
Okay.
very funny as a stand-up comedian. Jovel, same thing. So I think from a strategic standpoint, they are building with their skits and their following, and they can use that now to tap in, whether they choose to funnel it into stand-up comedy shows or perhaps for support for their businesses, because I think Kyle opened a coffee shop recently.
I saw that, yeah.
Certified Samson has
And
his
he's
lolly
the
business.
brand ambassador now for
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything. But they can use those things to operate from a point of business, or they can use it for comedy purposes. Now, I have my own path and my own strategy. I've done some of the skits, but I don't have the time necessarily to invest in filming. These things take work. Some people think that they don't, but they do.
That is days of work.
Yeah,
Setting it up,
that's
recording,
filming.
editing.
That's
Vaughn knows exactly what I'm talking about.
That's filming you in different costumes, in different characters, in different spaces and settings, and then sitting down there and editing it and putting it all together. And you have to either be able to use your time wisely to get it done, or have a team or have people who you can lean on to do that. I have neither of those things. I am very limited for time, and I don't really have a team. I am a team of one. As me, I can't edit nothing. So what my strategy is, I am doing stand-up comedy shows, live performances. I love what I do, and I haven't really shared before this year clips of me performing, but I started sharing clips of me performing because, to me, I want people to now start acclimatizing to the fact that, oh, this is what it's like to be in an audience. This is what it's like to hear her performing live. And for them to also get familiar with me as a live performer. So when I drop a show, they know they can come out and have a good time. And I'm doing it for dual purpose, which is I feel as though Trinidad and Tobago is a beautiful place for us to do a lot of our testing ground for material. But at some point, you are going to hit a ceiling, and we're going to need to move to regional or international territories to start doing our stand-up comedy. So for me, putting myself out there into the internet space and on social media and showing clips of me performing live, I hope at some point in time, with consistency, with me sharing content in that format, that I might land up being on somebody's tour, that I might be getting approached for more bookings. So how it works essentially, and a lot of people don't realize this is how the business side of things work. For you to be booked to be on a tour, or for you to be booked to be part of, let's say, Netflix, people familiar with Netflix. When Monique had to do Netflix, there was a big ruckus over how much money she was making.
She was paid, yeah.
Right. And the explanation that she was given as to why she was getting significantly less than
Chris Rock
Amy
or
Schumer.
Dave Chappelle.
No, I'm
Oh,
using
Amy
Amy
Schumer.
Schumer.
That was the issue.
This woman,
Oof,
two
okay.
women in comedy. The explanation, that she was given was this is Amy Schumer is trending right now. She gets a lot of butts in seats, and we are paying based on how many people want to see her. So Netflix essentially looks at your figures. They look at how many people are coming out to your live shows. They do take this into consideration. And a lot of these shows where you see stand-up comedians putting on a half-hour special or a 1 hour special, it's coming from the fact that someone, an agent or perhaps a producer, has seen that they have an actual following and that they have a crowd that is enjoying their material sufficient for them to be able to package it and make it marketable to a broader audience. They look at your numbers. So for me,
That seems fair.
yeah, it's business. They look at your
You
numbers.
see, that way you can bottom line it. Your last tour sold X amount of tickets. This is the amount of money we're going to pay you.
Correct.
Based on that. And
Non-biased.
your tactic, your strategy of releasing footage from actual shows, I think plays better into that, because as funny as I find a lot of the skits on Instagram are, they don't translate into, well, can you tell a joke on stage? Can you be funny for 5 minutes straight?
Can you do it for an
Telling
hour?
a joke. Yeah, exactly.
You sustain
But
it
Yeah,
for an
because
hour.
let's say you
audience
tell
really
you
affects
tell
it,
the
yeah.
story for 5 minutes. Your joke is gonna be a five. After 5 minutes, that's when the punchline hits. Do you have the timing? Because comedy is a lot about timing.
Yeah.
Stand-up comedy, especially. I mean, masters like Jerry Seinfeld, they don't even have to say anything funny in the timing. But because they've said it, this beat is funny. This beat is funny. The next beat mightn't even land that hard, but because it landed on the beat, it's funny to you.
Yeah.
And so the skits don't, in my mind, translate well enough into, well, can you perform this on stage in front of an audience?
No, yeah, because I was gonna ask me about that. Like, what are her views on the use the TikTok skits versus a more traditional stand-up comedian? Because okay, some of these skits might actually be funny, but I know for a fact, just as Fran said, that that doesn't translate to like a stage presentation. Like those skits might be funny because it has created a scenario, but you now have to tell your joke, time it, hit the punchline, and then it's a lot about composure too because you're on stage, you tell a joke, it probably doesn't hit, and then you have to carry on, you know.
So again, I will go back to what I said before. All of the men who I've seen doing those skits, I've seen them do stand up and they are funny. They can do it. They are capable of doing it. They have just opted to put out the skits. Now, there are two reasons why this also may be what is the preferred choice. One, when you put your jokes out, you can't really necessarily use it again in performing because now people have seen the joke. So when they come to pay for you to perform live, it becomes, but I'm just doing the same joke that they put out on
I know
social
this
media.
Joke. I heard this one.
Right?
Yeah.
So some comedians choose not to share their material because it takes a while sometimes to craft a joke. It takes a while to get that material together. So some people have opted out of sharing that side of them. But what they're doing is very smart. As I said, they're building a following. So when they're ready to drop a show, they have a ready-made source that they can now, I'm dropping a show, this is when it's happening. And people think that they're funny enough that they will come out to support them regardless. And they will find out on the day that they are funny. And like I said, they are. So I'm not worried about them. I am very lane oriented in that I like to stay in my lane. I don't have the time nor resources to do it that way. So I'm doing it my way, which is I'm okay with releasing my content, which actually puts a little bit more pressure on me in that
As a writer.
and that's where my strength comes from. Because I feel like I can probably put out all of this material, and by the time you come to the next show, you ain't had to hear none of that. Because now, like I said, I've been listening to the current affairs. I've been following what's happening in international circles, whether it is in entertainment or if it's something news related. I have been paying attention so that I could keep writing, and I write every single day. That I do. This is one of the first things I do when I wake up in the morning. I say a word of prayer, and then I do my journaling, and I write some material. Whatever is fresh off my mind in the morning, I put it there. And sometimes I will add to it during the course of the day. I walk around with my book most days so that I always have some sort of a reference point. If I'm in conversation with someone and I make them laugh, I make a mental note.
Ding, write that down.
Write that down. That's coming up in a show. Somebody's going to like this. And it allows me now to say, well, look, I'm releasing this material. Next show, people getting fresh thing.
So you literally check the amount of times per day that you are funny.
No, I don't want to say I check the amount of times that I'm funny.
They laughed at that.
But
Write that
Make a
down.
note.
There's a comedian, to segue it slightly. There's a comedian now that uses a notepad in his, I don't remember the dude's name, but he is so good because the timing of him stopping.
And he's like very deadpan, the kind of
Real
the
deadpan.
bald head
He's not bald head.
Nice.
He's not.
He has a
His case is
low
a
haircut.
low haircut. I'm
I
trying
think
to
a
remember
little
his
bit.
name as well, but he's very, very funny.
I think he's out of Chicago. He is Dion Cole.
Dion, yeah.
He is so good
He
He's
is.
tall, yeah.
with that
yeah,
notepad.
yeah.
And again, Dion does that not just with testing, but sometimes in the real show itself. And I've done this as well. Now, I do testing shows where there's smaller crowds, maybe 10 to 20 people. Sometimes it's my friends. That's how I started. I actually had some of my friends in their gallery sit down, and I came out with my book and I started talking. And yeah, it worked. It made them laugh. Check. This could go in. All right, I say something and everybody kind of quiet. Work on this one. And I still do that. That's part of my process now, where I test certain things, especially if I'm not comfortable as yet with it. I don't have, well, I should say we don't have a lot of open mics that we can go to test out
the test material.
So I had to create my testing ground for myself with those little small testers. And from that, I actually had a tester about 2 weeks ago talk for about almost 2 hours straight and checked off, right? This going in, that going in. And I started tweaking what I'm having for the show ahead. So I know, like, my material for the show ahead is already written. It's already something that I've started working on. And the next part of the process now is rehearsing it or preparing it. Now, everybody's process is different. Sometimes I will stand up in front of a mirror, say something, look at my expression, maybe work on intonation. Sometimes pacing is very important, and knowing when you think the joke is going to land. So if I know I want the reaction here, I will pause for it, even when I'm practicing at home. And sometimes in real life, I've found that silence can actually even be funny.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I will clip a joke and I would leave it to linger for people to sink in.
And then
because
they'll
sometimes
catch it.
there are people who are a little slower than others to catch certain jokes. But it's the sweetest thing. No, you need to
because
understand.
You'll hear it start to
Yeah.
land on people.
And there's always that, even if you listen to some of the videos that I've released, sometimes you'll hear the crescendo and then you'll just hear one last cackle and it erupts again.
And
then you can move forward. But talking over people's laughter does not work well. So I like to give people the breathing room.
Yeah, you need to let them have their moment, and then, you can milk that as well.
Yeah.
And then you run into the next one.
And I think it's something that all stand-up comedians who are dedicated to the craft, over time, they work on it, they get comfortable, they figure out their cadence, and you get to a point where you start to kind of almost anticipate where that laugh is going to land. So it works for me.
Yeah, because
It
you
seems
get
like
to a
you've-
point where you... Sorry, Vaughn.
you go ahead.
But you get to a point where your level of comfort on the stage, you play the crowd like an instrument.
Yeah.
And, you use pauses, you use their laughter on them. And, yeah, I could see that definitely being a thing.
So you have honed your skill. You can see it when you go to a show. All right, Simmy is an experienced stand-up comedian. But how would you? Okay, so the next step. How
I'm
would
still
you?
honing. I wouldn't say
All right,
I'm a
I don't
baby
mean
in
I
this
don't
thing
mean like
still.
you have honed the end, but you let's say you're at a reasonable level of competence. What do you think you're at a stage where you could start to export your talent now? Like dude, you know what I mean? Tackle a CARICOM stage, or can your jokes be relevant outside of Trinidad?
That's what I'm trying to do. So that's why I said, like, I'm trying to put the content out there so that at some point in time, something had a hit. You could put out...
You gauge the feedback, the likes.
I can tell from... I put out a joke yesterday, which was one of the first jokes I had ever done, and talking about Jamaican men and their refusal to...
Saltfish.
Yeah, saltfish. Right? The saltfish joke. And I'm now seeing people from Jamaica have started commenting. They've now joined the chat. So it is now on me to start developing more jokes that are comfortable spots for the region. Guyana and Jamaica, so far, I've seen people reacting to my content from those countries. So it's something that maybe
Ghana's
can
right
work.
there. You
Yeah.
should, you know what I mean? You should be able to hop on a plane and do a
Trinity
show.
Simmy.
Well,
Oh.
yeah, that's exactly it. But I think financially, these shows cost a lot. So for me, it's better to be, at least in the early stages of things, it's better for me to be invited to somebody's country because then it's on your tab. If you having the Caribbean Comedy Festival in Grenada or Guyana or St. Lucia and you invite me, more likely you will cover the airfare, the accommodation, and my booking fee, as well as allow me to enjoy the experience and I can do what I do. But if I now have to go put on a show in another country, like how I'm doing here with Queen's Hall and Sapa, that
You have all
That
the
doesn't
headache
seem very practical. But
plus to perform.
Yeah.
like I was saying, don't you think that it would be more likely for somebody out there to see you and decide, I want to invest in Simi. I want to do a show. I want to promote a show with Simi. If they get exposure to your material, like if you have, stuff on TikTok or Instagram. I mean, this is what I think. I mean, because I know you're funny. I feel like if you had more material, like, more people would be able to know you're funny as well. Because like it's cool to do a show and sell out because you do that fairly regularly, but that kind of exposure is also invaluable because so now you're giving yourself opportunities to export your material.
Well, working on it. I am trying to get those kind of opportunities. I haven't gotten them as yet. And the only way that I think I will get them is just by doing what I'm currently doing, which is using what I have and trying to make the best of it. A show for me, like Sapa is coming up. I'm doing an hour of stand up again. When I do that hour, I now have a different goal in mind, which is for that regional penetration and for possibly international penetration. So I've started structuring certain jokes that I know when I cut them to put them on social media after, my hope is, okay, I can now tag certain countries or hashtag those countries, see if it can reach them, see if it starts to build up to the point where someone from another country who's doing a show might reach out to me and say, hey, we're doing this. And who knows what the future holds, because the thing about stand-up comedy is you're either doing it or you're not. This is there's no middle way here. You could go on the stage and bomb, in which case none of the clips gonna be usable on social media. I have this perspective that, do you remember a few years back, Michael Dapper, the thing goes scra, pa, pa, pa.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, right. He actually shared a number of different things, and he would have been sharing consistently for a long period of time until that particular character, that particular song is what pulled him into the international space. And again, it could be through skits. I'm not
He actually
saying
did a lot of skits. Yeah.
and like I said, I'm not limiting myself and saying I'm not going to do the skits. I'm just saying strategically, it's not my main focal point at this time. If I have time and I see, well, look, after this show, I have a little bit of flexibility of time and I can start putting out some more skits, I might. Creativity is not something that you limit when you're in this industry. But what I'm saying is, for me right now, this is what I could do. So I do what I can, and I do it with the intention of a longer term goal. I actually started off 7 years ago, and I started off with a goal that I wanted to eventually, when I master or comfortably master performing in Trinidad and Tobago, then I would be able to start to work toward working in the region. When I first started doing stand-up comedy, I used to watch my foot horse. It was bad. I was nervous. I make a joke and people laugh and I watching my foot. I could not share those early videos because the discomfort was visible. So I've now reached a comfort level where I'm comfortable to share. And to me, that has actually benefited me in a big way because around December on social media, on Facebook, I would have had about 15,000 followers in December. I started sharing ahead of my show at Queen's Hall in January. And by the time March rolled around, I was close to 25,000 followers on Facebook. That's a $10,000 people jump. So
You're really thinking about monetizing them?
that money started.
Whoa.
Freudian slip.
Yeah. No, but it's a 10,000.
No, but that's awesome, though. In such a short
10,000,
period of
yeah.
time.
People in that jump. And it was the same thing for TikTok. TikTok, I had like 8,000 followers. And then I started sharing videos and it jumped to where it's about 18,000 now. So I'm just saying that to show you, I started sharing in January. When you try to compare and contrast, and like I said, I don't like to be comparing and contrasting. I'm in my own lane. I just started in January with sharing my live stand-up comedy stuff. Men like Certified Samson and I'm doing this for years. Like they've been doing their skits for years. So it's a process. And sometimes people think that this is overnight success. I always tell them, none of us are overnight successes. We are byproducts of years and years of trying. We try this, it didn't work. We try this didn't work. We try that, okay, that ain't working. And now I'm trying something. And for me, my formula is working for me. And I would like to continue doing it. So I'm going to continue doing my shows, clipping, sharing. And whenever I get the opportunity to do live performances, it also allows me to build in different ways. So like I have my show coming up. Then there's the Laugh on the Avenue show at the end of June. And I think that's also in Sapa. Randy Glasgow has a show coming up in July. And that's in East, in the Arima Velodrome. So I'm there for that. And every show that I touch, each space that I touch, it's a different audience, different crowd. So it means that I'm now getting the opportunity to expose my brand to different audiences, get feedback. Because for me, comfort zone is my audience. People who following me already like my content. What is the real test is when I go in other people's show and then I'll be able to tell, oh, okay, well, guess I gotta go back to the drawing board with this one. But fortunately, I had a really good opportunity earlier this year to be on Laugh on the Avenue's stand-up Saturday show. And it allowed me to see, nope, this works. It works in their crowd. So it's working for my crowd, it's working for their crowd. I'm safe here. And that is also adding to a feeling of confidence that is allowing me now to continue pushing and saying, I'm getting closer to regionally secure where I'm going to be able to push this and do this somewhere else, and that material will land there.
Yeah, because I don't want you to get the impression that I feel like you should switch lanes and do skits. But like when I say like Instagram or whatever the case may be, I would love to see clips of, a stand-up. Like that's literally what I'm talking about. Like your thing is stand-up, do that. You know what I mean? So I would like to see more clips of Simmy De Trini on Instagram or TikTok or Facebook, because it's like, it's like on the go. You know what I mean? You could be doing something and it's like, okay, it's a new, I'm following this page that you have created or whatever the case may be to showcase your material, and it's like new stuff comes out. I tune in, it's like, wow, this is hilarious, and then I show somebody else it, because that's kind of how social media works. I show somebody else it or I share it with someone, and You know, so it's like Simmy, 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 Simmy. You know.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm working and doing right now, and I am getting positive feedback from it. I am seeing the responses to the material that's being shared. There's good and bad in it. I mean, there are some people who I'm sure probably watch my content. So humor is subjective. They might watch it and they be like, I ain't like she. I find me and really find where the joke is there, where Tommy Joseph. And I say, okay, well,
Why is she not a character right now? Why is she speaking in her own voice?
gosh, jeez. And I have gotten some of that. And I'm also, some of the strangest comments that come up that have nothing to do with the joke whatsoever. Some of the comments are coming at my appearance. Why is she real fat? Okay. Thank you for having eyes. Okay.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, guy.
Did you like the joke though?
Observant comedy is your forte.
I mean that's like good or bad, because remember, as you were describing your friend, you know, some people are into that with, you know, power mints or snowmen or whatever the case may be. So it's not like
You real stick on that joke, boy.
yeah.
All right, so
She made a huge impact.
there's good and bad in it, in that from an entertainment perspective, coming from the Caribbean and being a woman in entertainment in Trinidad and Tobago, I do feel very strongly that we have been forced, in essence, to sexualize ourselves in order to sell content regardless.
To sell
Anything.
Yep.
Anything. And this is why, you know, I'll start with soca. We know that soca is sexy music and stuff, but there's a huge gap where the women and the men are concerned. You have Carnival come up, and you will see all of the soca artists, the female soca artists, are in as little clothes as possible. And they're being very sexy. They're
Very suggestive.
Very suggestive. But at the same time, like I have seen Nyla Blackman and all of them come out in barely more than pasties and string in some instances. And I mean saying that's a bad thing, but when you can see men like Ding Dong and them have to do it to come out in next to nothing, you know?
I think
Yeah?
you'd rather not.
Well, you mightn't, but you know, at some point, there's this line that it's an invisible line that exists where entertainment is concerned, where sex is used to sell.
And all they get show in Winchester bareback just the other day.
Woo!
I mean, come on, man.
Right,
Where-
Sherwin was always bareback.
If we get showing bareback, and sometimes we just get a little Benji in our jockey shorts, a little
Yes,
a
Benjamin.
little
His
swap
drawers
swappy,
was a thing.
a little swap.
Yeah,
Back in the day,
You
what's his name?
Rio.
Rio.
Trinidad Rio.
Always
So-
without a shirt, and the man abs down on thing. So you know,
I
few
think
and far
Well,
between.
again, that-
Honestly,
Way more than that to me.
I think for entertainment purposes, while they've even tried it with me to some extent, my stylists, when I'm doing shows, they're like, "Sumi, why you don't put on this?" And they would give me something that has way too much cleavage and a slit that could show my breakfast, and I'm like, no, give me the big comfortable dress that I can move around with, or give me pants that I can move around with, because sometimes I would roll around on the stage, or I might do some stupidness and some kind of wild antics, and I prefer being comfortable. I don't really at this time feel like I need to dress sexy and suggestively, and even if I wanted to, right, I'm working on my body right now, so having that extra commentary about my size, it doesn't really tie into my talent, to me at least. I feel like if you listen to me, you like the material, you like the jokes, you will laugh.
yeah. Exactly.
My appearance is secondary to it.
It has nothing to do with what you're there to do.
Yeah.
But I think
Is the
like
joke
at its
funnier if
core-
I wore a thong?
I think at its core, men are just intrigued by the fact that some women can be sexy and funny. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's
Okay, well, while that may be so, it still doesn't take away from the fact that I do feel as though it's too heavily sexualized, and for me, I want people to focus on what I'm saying and my content, and to be able to appreciate the art and to appreciate the fact that a lot of work goes into it, and not just the shows, the stand-up comedy, but the show itself, because I do my shows. I'm the production manager for my shows. So I'm the production manager. I'm the front of house person. Most times I have a coordinator, but I do interface with the sponsors. I am the person that is the key person to talk to the stage manager for how the show is going to look. I'm very hands-on, like with the experience, because I have, in my mind, when you come to my shows, it's not just when the curtain rises is when the show starts. The show starts for me from the time you enter the venue, because I want you to come in and I know which sponsors are there. I handpick who gets to be in my lobby area. How are they going to impact my patron for the experience? Then when you come in, I am the one who picks out, I handpick, hand select the music that you're hearing when you sit down in that auditorium before the show starts. So I curate the experience.
You curate the entire experience.
From start to finish.
And perform.
And then I perform.
Which is incredible.
I'm also the ticket hotline. So when you all call to get your tickets.
So they're really talking to you.
Yeah. People are always shocked by that. They're like, Simmy, is you? I can recognize you from your voice. Oh my God.
And I remember the one time, and I say this because I wasn't able to do otherwise, I bought tickets to a show. She drove down the road and dropped it in front of my house.
Yep.
So she was dropping off tickets as well.
I feel like that's probably because it was you.
No.
Like I don't,
No.
everybody, for real?
She
So-
was making her rounds. Like,
so
all right,
listen.
so where are you? I'm in San Fernando this day, and I'm dropping off tickets in San Fernando this day.
When the earliest Syrians started doing their cloth business, they rode on bikes, they walked around with bags, selling their cloth door to door. Who I feel I is
Who is you? Exactly.
that I cannot go door to door and hand deliver my tickets. I still do it to this day.
But this is
I
the
don't do it
hustle
as
people don't see.
much, but I do it still. I like to have that element of surprise where people will call and they'll tell me, we want to get delivery. Sometimes you'll get delivery from someone else, and sometimes it's just
Sometimes
me.
you get Simmy in person.
Sometimes
in the
I just
flesh.
pull up in front of your
Surprise.
place and I'm like, I'm outside.
With cameras.
They come outside. No, not with
Hey,
cameras.
guys.
No.
No jokes either, because you
No.
have to you're paying for
Okay.
those to see on another
right.
night.
No, but I've gone in people's homes. They've invited me in their homes. When they see that I come to drop their tickets, they sit down and they'll talk and they'll tell me.
But don't you think that would be a good idea, though? Like to actually videotape someone seeing you in the flesh delivering their tickets?
Okay, so I thought of that once, and then I asked the person if they'd be comfortable, and they were like, gosh, if you tell me before I would have put makeup and thing. So the element of surprise, people...
Yeah, you don't want to invade people's privacy. I think, you know,
So
you
you're catching that
recently had an
reaction.
issue, something similar to that. So.
Yeah, I am very respectful of people, but I love doing that drop off of the tickets. I love the interactivity. Like when people call, I don't always be the ticket hotline, because about 2 weeks before the shows, I hand over tasks to other people. That's what you're getting paid for. That's your task. You know, delegate. But up till, this is the 3 weeks before the show, so I'm still the ticket hotline. So when people call, I'm telling them, well, you can go to Hot Stuff Divas Plus to get your ticket, or you can get your ticket at Quan Keb's Pork Shed in Tragreet Road, or I'd let them know where they can go if they're asking about group tickets, because I have group specials as well, and I would let them know where they can get their specials. Or I started doing WhatsApp e-tickets, so you could get your ticket straight to your phone. Like, you could tell me now you want a ticket, you have online banking,
Yeah.
I give you the account, you send the money, you send the screenshot, I send your ticket, boop, we done. So we don't have to have that physical ticket. When you reach, you pull out your phone, we scan at the door, you're inside.
So,
And as you say that, how much are the tickets?
There are $250 general tickets. We have group specials. So there's the horn special. That's 3 tickets for $5.55. Because why you should just come with your wife? You could bring your wife and your gal
What?
at
Sound like
the
a
same time.
Simi, that's not
So
a whole.
enjoy.
That's a third wheel.
You need another name for that special.
That is a third wheel special. That is not necessarily a horn special.
Listen,
Because I was listening to the horn special. It's 3 tickets. I'm doing the maths. 3 tickets. What's going on here?
That is
A bacchanal special.
That's a bacchanal special.
no, but it's really, for me, it was an inside joke for me. Because I love going on island tickets and seeing the horn special and seeing people's reaction when they go online and they see the names of my ticket specials. Sometimes it's just be funny for me personally. Now,
So general horn.
general is $2.50. Horn is 3 for $5.55. The small crew special is 5 tickets for $7.50, and then big crew is 10 for $1,250. And some people buy crews
Big
plural.
crew, yeah.
Plural. They're like, what I've realized is some women in particular really seem to enjoy using the shows as girls' night out. Sometimes, like for the show in Queen's Hall, they use the show as a reunion lime. So full classes from some of the schools were coming out. And we're talking like 30, 40 girls, old girls association coming out. They bought their tickets as a crew, came out, had a maxi, 2 maxis pull up, and they were there for the show.
So, it's safe to say that you're pretty, like you know your way around.
Thank you. First time you say I'm pretty for the night. All kind of hints about
That is
about
not
ugly,
the first.
ugly
that is
gal with
not
no
the first time. That's
personality.
not the first time I said that, Simi.
Thanks,
Don't
I'm
do
taking
that.
it.
Right?
You all missed. There was. I feel like most of the good conversations had before we started recording.
This is also good though.
No,
Just
this is good. I said most of, but this is everything since we started is good. But man, yeah, you all missed some gold. Anyway,
gems.
carry on. Yeah, Semi's pretty.
So you know Simi is pretty,
Thank
and
you.
you do know your way around planning an event. But like, so I'm an up and coming comedian, but I just don't know because like you said, they don't have as many open mics as they used to before. Like, is there a way that you could link up with more established comedians and probably like try to get exposure? Can I contact you as a comedian? Like, hey, Simi, I have some material. Let me send you some stuff, and then you could think about maybe including me in a show with you or some. Do comedians like help each other out like that, or is
So,
it like
well,
a kind of a dog
they
eat dog?
do.
Honestly, Semi, before you address that, because that ties into a question I wanted to ask. You do showcase other talents at your shows.
Yes, I do.
So you can talk about how you go about selecting your people and then let us know who will be at your show. I know who was at the last show. You could highlight them as well, big them all up, and who will be at this show. But yeah, how do you go about choosing who you want to showcase?
Right. So we have a very small pool of stand-up comedians that I would say are from this generation of stand-up comedians that I would have started in business with some of them, and I would have seen their growth. I originally did a platform where I was doing the open mic, which was the Hall Mic
Hall
shows. And I did Hall Mic for a couple of years, but I didn't enjoy it. So just to tie into your question, you are up, you want to try stand up, you want to do something along those lines. No, do not call Simi, full support
God.
for you. No problem. But it is extremely draining to work with young talent and develop talent, because then I can't work on me. And right now, selfishly, I have to work on me to try to get to where I need to get to. When I reach there, by all means,
You could develop
Then you
all
could,
the
you could
talents
probably
you want.
mentor young comedians.
but for now, I can't be. Wait, is it? You know, when you're in the middle of the ocean, you're treading water. I ain't drowning. I'm treading water, and you drowning. I can't help you right now.
Like a Titanic situation.
I can't help you. But
The original.
yeah. So what I would say though, I had to part with Holy Mike for that same reason. I could not deal with the younger comedians, and then you're dealing with personalities. Now, not everybody personality can mesh with mine. There's some people I love them to the moon and back, and I will be honest with you to say that is part of my selection process for who comes on my show, because I look at how you are from a professional standpoint. Are you reaching to the shows on time? Because I start my shows when you see 6 o'clock on a ticket for me, people is always talk about it, and the shows start on time, like we so unaccustomed to that in the
That is
Caribbean.
unbelievably
I
rare.
know, right? But here, when you hear I am starting my show at 6 p.m., my stage manager know I don't play. 6 p.m., curtain up, we starting. Whoever here, we going with. Whoever not here, hard luck. So that's part of the selection process for me. I look at them from, are they treating this as though it's a real thing?
job.
It's a job. Are you showing up on time? Are you working on your craft? Are you developing your material? I have with me at this show, Kivo is the MC. That's Kevan Lewis. Kivo is an
yeah.
MC. Kes Ramsey is going to be performing, as well as Jerome Richardson, who's a young comedian, very funny guy. I picked Jerome because now comedians might identify with this. I make people laugh. It's very hard to make me
For a
laugh.
comedian to make you laugh.
Yeah,
Right.
it's really hard to make me laugh. I would listen to all of the other comedians, and sometimes I would smile. Like I'd be like, "Oh, that's funny, that's interesting." But I'm really looking at it from a material standpoint. Like, is this working? This not working? Jerome makes me laugh. He's always been that comedian, that because he has a dark sense of humor. And he has a very warped sense of humor. And I love that about him. Kevin Sawyer, same thing. Kevin is disabled. And he is able to say things that I do not think any of us are allowed to say within the confines of societal expectations that we could get away with. So he says certain things that, it's just be like real off cuff. And he could tap onto certain communities
I get it.
without it.
I can
Punching
say
down.
certain, I can say
Offensive,
certain
yeah.
things that people can't really say.
Right.
I get
So Kevin Sawyer is now if I, and this is not me playing favorites here, I would arguably say Kevin is probably the funniest of us all. So while I appreciate people saying, they enjoy the skits and stuff from Certified Samson, Rody, Javel, they're all funny. Kevin is the man to look out for internationally. Like, I expect at some point him being that guy.
You will make a mark.
When he finally does something on a major scale, it's going to while out the whole country. I can imagine what's going to take place here. So Kevin is a beast by himself. And who else do I have there? Those are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Kwame Weeks. Kwame Weeks is intellectual humor. Kwame's a teacher. He was doing the behind the bars things for a while. But I feel like...
That is where I know that name. Right. Yeah.
So I went with these guys because I know their material. I know what they're capable of. I've seen them perform. I can trust that they will deliver. Trust is a big thing for me. Like, I'm a person where, because stand-up comedy and shows like this, we are not coming together to do dress rehearsals and for us to test our material out. No, I need to be able to trust that you're going to show up on the
When
night.
it's your showtime.
When you show up on time, you perform in your slot, and you deliver on what you're supposed to deliver on. These guys, I could go to sleep and say, yeah, they will do what they had to do.
So basically, you could safely you could mentor those guys then.
No. We are all. I do not mentor. Mentor implies there's a step above here. These guys, I see them as my peers.
As your peers.
Because we all started at the same time, more or less, by gaps of just a couple months.
But what if you got that amount of exposure to, like, let's say an up and coming comedian, and you realize, hey, he or she makes me laugh, they're on time, because they're not necessarily included in the show in the capacity of performing, but they might be, listen, I'm having a show, I want you to come out and see this is what goes into a show, because you've expressed interest, you want to be a comedian or a comedian, and this is what it takes to come up to the show. You could help out with this or whatever it can be. So it's almost like an internship kind of.
No, listen. I feel as though Laugh on the Avenue picked up where Hold Your Mic stopped. So if they want to, if there's a young comedian and you want to hear some of the young comedic talent, the Laugh on the Avenue is your place to go. Like, I would 100% send you in that direction. There is a lot of comedic talent that they're tapping into, some younger artists. There are other female comedians as well. I think Something Mo is one who she's coming out and doing her thing. There are some other comedic talents in that circle. So like Gabriel Bridge Mohan, who's really funny as well. Stefan Stephen. He's very funny. So, I mean, these are names that you're not familiar with yet.
That's his actual name?
Yeah.
It's like Steph. Okay.
Yeah. So there are names that you may not be completely familiar with yet. They're over on the Laugh on the Avenue team. They're still in that building stage. They may have joined after. Some of them I would have had some sort of a mentorship aspect working with them, but I really need to work on my thing. So I feel like they have their show coming up at the end of June. They did one as well in Queen's Hall in March as well. And they have been building their following on social media. So if I were to talk to a young person or someone who isn't so young like yourself, who may be interested in doing stand-up, well, you know what I mean.
This is the second guest.
What
of
is this going on
second
here,
of
Wade?
two guests that have called either Vaughn or myself or both old to old.
I didn't call it old.
Boy,
I say
on the
you're
one
not- you're not-
deal.
Rough way. Just so you know. I feel like that was like
Just so.
just blindsided.
But,
Just not even.
Right, no,
Anyway,
but
she said you, not me.
yeah,
I over
okay.
here
I
with my
say
young
this.
self.
I say this in the context of the fact that we've had comedians from as young as 17 years old who are testing now, right? You ain't no 17-year-old, right? We.
How you know that?
How I know that?
What?
Okay, all right. Anyway, moving swiftly along. The fact is, I would tell any comedian interested that your first port of call at this time may be either through Laugh on the Avenue or Uncle Errol and George. They have a show that they do every Tuesday at Avala, and they also take in younger comedians to mentor.
Errol old too.
Huh?
Errol old too. Or?
Errol Fabian?
Yeah, I mean, I say Uncle Errol. So
Uncle Errol. Well, yeah, Errol Fabian.
Errol
Yes.
Fabian is like foundation.
no, I didn't know it was Errol Fabian. She said Uncle Errol. So
It
like
could
she
only
just-
be one
everybody
Errol.
old.
Nah, there's only one Errol.
All right, all right.
Errol Fabian. So they have
Take a
their,
breath.
they have their shows that are happening on a Tuesday at Avala,
Vaughn just needs to get his feelings in order.
and they do take
Starts drinking heavily.
younger people on to mentor, to work with as well. So there are avenues for it.
No, I 100% get you, because I just asked like what's in place for like an up and coming comedian, because a lot of comedians do take their time, and I'm just saying like, okay, like foreign well established comedians, that because like, okay, Kevin Hart has a kind of mentorship program.
But like Kevin Hart,
Yes.
you understand? He reached.
He reached.
He had the
Understand?
money to do that.
But remember, you don't know,
triple
you don't
reached.
know, you don't know.
Yeah,
Somebody
he
might be
was
looking at you like, okay, semi rich. Remember, okay, on a smaller scale.
But they need to
an
look
island
again.
wide-
I ain't reached
an
nowhere
island
yet.
wide.
I know starting my journey. I need crack the engine.
From my perspective, listening to you, the planning that goes into a show, there's no way I could do something like that. So I would look at it like, yeah, and I'm not a comedian. Somebody who wants, like, they want to be a comedian. in the early teens, they're like, wow, Simi's doing all of this. They would look at you like, yeah, she reaching in Trinidad. You to yourself, you haven't reached, but to somebody, you're like, you are where they want to be.
I,
You
I,
know?
I get that, but I still will circle back and say that is not entirely accurate. And so when people, and people have reached out. Usually, what I do is I would generally swerve them over to Lafayette Avenue, or to no. Listen, I really
No, I
don't.
mean, I just because you said you literally swerved them,
I
which
swerve.
is cool.
I do, because I don't have the capacity, the resources, the time, or the energy to do it.
Yeah,
Like
because you're like a one woman show, basically.
right
No, yeah,
now.
exactly. I think the fact that Vaughn and I think most of your audience would look at you like you reach is how easy you make it look.
You're dead. Not,
But
thank
it's a
you.
duck on a pond. I mean, they don't see the feet kicking underneath. And just to segue real hard, because you were talking about all that you have to do and all that you do, you still find time to help other people. And this is completely outside of the comedy world. I want to segue off. The charity work that you do, I don't know that it's associated with any particular charity, but I do see you reaching out on Facebook. Y'all, I have this family or this mother or this father in need of XYZ.
Oh, for real?
How can we help? No. Hannah, Simi engages the village regularly, and it is wonderful to see. What inspired that, and how do you manage to do that as well as all that you otherwise have to do?
So, what I would say is people reach out to me on a nearly daily basis. I sometimes, when I open my inbox, there are a lot of messages coming from people from different walks of life who reach out to me for different reasons. And I think it's because I've been very transparent and very open with my own story. I'm a domestic violence survivor. And because of that, I have shared my stories. I'm also very much so publicly an advocate for domestic violence survivors. I have ADHD and I have a child with ADHD. And I also work with neurodivergent children. So that's ADHD, autistic children. And so for that, I get a lot of parents of children with neurodivergent issues who would reach out to me for different reasons. And I have domestic violence survivors who reach out to me for different reasons. I'm a single mom, and I would have shared parts of my journey, parts of my struggle, because a lot of people, and I do appreciate this imagery of me reaching somewhere. But I always have to remind people, yes, I'm now 7 years into this thing. 3 years ago, I didn't have a dollar to my name. 3 years ago, I didn't have a dollar to my name. 7 years ago, I had minus $17. And I don't think we even touched on why I even started doing stand-up comedy. The reason why I started doing stand-up comedy is because it's not even a funny story. It's not even a light story. It's a very real and tragic reality. In 2017, my mom was diagnosed with cancer. She died in 2017. And I was where I was working, my contract had come to an end. So I was unemployed. And around that time, I was having a lot of problems with my son's dad. So the relationship ended there. And I was unemployed, broke, had no relationship, had 2 children to take care of as a single mother. And I couldn't afford, after about 3 months, all my money ran out. I couldn't afford the apartment that I was in. And I had to move into a 1-bedroom. I don't like to call it a shack, because it wasn't a shack. But it had no potable water, no running water, no water lines. Roof was leaking. I had to tote buckets and bottles of water, and in dry season when we had no water, people got used to seeing me going by the gas station standpipes and going by, I actually know where you could find water as a resource now, you know, going to playgrounds and filling up water so that I could flush the toilets and wash wares and cook food for my kids. And I lived like that for 5 years in abject poverty with no kind of supports, like none.
5 years.
5 years. And back to back of that 5 years, my mom passed away in 2017. Shortly after that, my paternal grandmother died. And I would have been with her for the last couple of months before she died. She was diabetic and she lost both of her legs were amputated. Would have been with her right before she passed away. And the following year, my aunt would have died. That's my mom's younger sister. She would have died from COVID on Christmas Day. And right after, the following year, my maternal grandmother passed away. All the women in my family just gone in the blink of an eye. So when I say me starting in 2017 was defense mechanism comedy, basically, because I had gone into such a bad state of depression from grief, from not functioning properly, that I was having suicidal ideation. I was thinking, look, this isn't even worth it. And I decided, no, I'm going to fight. I'm going to find something to do. And I started going. At the time, there was Drop the Mic in San Fernando. Shout out to Tracy. And I went and I did open mic there, watching my foot, learning the ropes. And gradually, I started doing material on stand-up comedy and sharing things. But my sharing on social media has always been a mixture of comedic content, my written content, and personal things like that. So people feel they can reach out to me. And I get that. I get that there are the single moms that reach out. I get that there are the people.
Yeah, because
who,
you could literally mean the world to somebody.
I could show you some of those kind of posts where people message me and they tell me, look, this morning I got up and I was thinking to off myself and I came on your page and you made me laugh and you have no idea how much that means to me. Thank you. And I look at that and I say, oh, okay, I'm doing something good here. And it's not just about it going on stage and standing up. And it's not just about being able to get those kind of messages, but being able to activate the people in my social media, because I don't have no money to say I could jump out. Sometimes these people will come and they have like real issues that need to be addressed now for now. So there's just off the top of my head, just this week here, for Mother's Day, I usually go into depression badly. Because, yeah, my mom, my grandmoms, both of them, my aunt, everybody's like, I can't wish nobody happy Mother's Day. And I'm still in that position with my children where Mother's Day means I had to buy that gift for myself, technically. Just give you all the money to buy it for me.
Small man give you $100 to hold.
Yeah.
So remember, he could
They never end in 100.
throw down in that 100.
That never end in 100, boy. Hey, listen, that 100 never done for him, you know. But just this week here, so I said for the first time, because last year was really bad, I just sat down there and cried for most of Mother's Day. I said, I'm not doing that this year. Instead, I'm going to do some hampers and do some deliveries and drop off to some of the women who I know need a little bump up of groceries around this time of year. They may be grateful to have a meal. People who Mother's Day and thinking about Mother's Day like we're buying presents for our children, but there are a lot of women, single moms, mothers in general, who are living in abject poverty or near poverty, and they didn't even have a meal to put together. So I got together with some of my friends, and we got hampers and we dropped off. But one of the places that we dropped off to, the woman, her mom had same thing like my grandmom, the diabetes, and they amputated one of her legs. And so she's taking care of her 3 children, and she's also taking care of her mom. And she's working at a minimum wage paid job. And she reached out to me and she told me, well, this is the situation. She does not have, the mom needs adult disposable briefs. She also needs bed pads. She had been taking bed sheets and cutting them up and using them like padding for her mom for diapers and stuff. And I had just finished spending all that I could on the hampers. So at this point in time, I myself waiting for people to buy more tickets so that I could have some more money to work with. I say, well, what I gonna do here? And that's when I would call on the village and say, all right, guys, I'm tapped out. This is one, if anyone can, please do. This is what's happening. And a lady reached out. She's from the area that the lady is from. And she said, what does she need? I gave her the list. She went and she got everything. The adult disposable briefs, pads, wipes, everything. She got some groceries for her and she dropped it off. And she picked it up and she went on her way. And that's just how the power of the village works, because sometimes people going through things out here, and culturally we teach people in how we treat with certain things like they should be ashamed of hitting a rough patch, like you should be ashamed of being poor, you should hide that, don't beg, don't ask for nothing. And because we culturally teach people this, it means that sometimes people are going through hell and they will stay quiet walking through that hell without asking for any kind of help whatsoever. And in fact, their mental health is deteriorating under that kind of pressure. And they don't have anybody to lean on. They don't have anybody to talk to. And because I've been there, I think I empathize with it more than a lot of people do. I don't look at a mother who has 5 children and think to myself, why she didn't use birth control, or no.
Just stop having children.
She should stop having. I don't think like that. If a mother with 5 children reaches out to me and says, I have no groceries, my immediate thought is them children need to eat. Mm-hmm. What I could do? Let me see what I have in my cupboard. I ain't have enough. Reach out and ask my friends. I will use my social media in that way to assist. Now, there are some people who, they are bad beggars amongst people.
Well,
it exists. Mm-hmm. And I know it exists. But even with that said, I've found that they are more in the minority than the majority. The people who usually reach out to me are genuine.
Genuinely in need.
Genuinely in need. And then I would also, when I go in person, I assess for myself. I see the situation, I see the conditions, I make my own mental notes, and sometimes I keep in touch with them to know what is happening, because it is not about getting a handout. I remember when I was under it, there was this guy, and I wish I could remember his name off the top of my hand, but he's from Canada, actually. And he had reached out to me, and he helped me with some stuff for my sons at a time when I was really under it. And he said, I don't want you to see this as a handout. I want you to see it as a hand up. Mm. And it was a hand up, because I think he was probably one of the last people that ever really helped me. Like, I was tuttling, and then I was, okay.
Right.
I could stand.
You're up now.
I up. Mm-hmm. I up. That's why I say when people might be seeing, Simmy in reach, I still have periods where
I find you reach more now, because like when you listen to stories like that, okay, personally I could relate, but that's like that different. You know, we could have you back on the show for that episode.
Whole other episode.
That's a different episode. But like, a few people would know that. Like, friends would know me from back then. So I'm listening to you and I'm like, okay, I could relate to that. But remember, like, when you're going through it, you can't. It's different to talk about it when you come out on the other side. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because it's inspirational at that time. Whereas when you're actually going through it, you know, you don't want people to be like pitying you or that kind of thing. So you just want to kind of like keep to yourself and make a way, you know?
Yeah. You may be like that, but for me, I have found there is strength in community. Mm-hmm. And where there was an absence of blood family, because I don't have a lot of wrong me again. I'm blessed to say that I've found community in my social media. My social media operates quite differently, I found, from a lot of other people's social media communities, in that, just as you said, like when I put out the post and I say, okay, village, this is the situation. If anyone can assist, they activate. People have gone and dropped food for people in their areas. They've actually reached out and done that. And even my shows, I incorporate an element of that in all of my shows. I always tell people, you ask about the prices of the tickets, but if you really want to come to my shows, you don't have to pay. That's a fact. I have paid forward tickets. So there are people who,
Yes, I have seen that.
yeah, there are people who, because they love what I do, they might buy a ticket, but they're not coming. So they'll say to me, I'm paying for the ticket, give it to somebody who wants to come. So I have like an inside bunch of tickets for people who, if you can't afford to come to the show, but you need a ease up, you need a break, you need to laugh, you need a night out. Sometimes, especially mothers, women, sometimes need that breather. They need it. They would tell me, I left the show and I was feeling so good. And, that helped me get through my week. And I was able to do this, that, and the other, the next. And I feel like I am grateful to know that I'm able to impact people's lives in a positive and meaningful way. This means a lot to me, more than money. Like I wrote a post today and I shared about it and I said, I am not motivated by money. Money will come. Money is always come. That's what poverty taught me. Money eventually will come. But what motivates me more than money is goals. Being able to have success and put my mind to what I'm doing, and also being able to have a positive impact along the way, touching lives along the way in a positive way. That's why the comedy that I do doesn't punch down on people. The comedy that I do, you're not going to come to my show and sit on the front row and I'm going to pick on you. And that's not my vibe. When you come to my shows, it doesn't matter what walk of life you come from, gay or straight. It could be whatever ethnic background, whatever religion. I always tell people, I don't care how big I get in this life, I will never be doing VIP tickets, because everybody that comes to my show is a very important person to me. Okay. So when you come to my shows, it's first come, first serve, get your seats, first off. And also, we become one community under one roof. Everybody here to do the same thing, which is to laugh and burst off some stress and then enjoy a night. That's it.
That is like extremely fantastic. And that is why I was wondering about the mentorship thing, because I feel like a lot of people would benefit from, spending time under your wing.
What time?
If you could,
from where?
One fine day.
If
anyway.
you could just remind us what is your itinerary with shows just before we wrap up,
right?
So we can know how to support Simmy.
Right, Sunday, June 2nd at Sapa. That is Stand Up Down South, Simmy's 7th anniversary. My show. Come out and celebrate with me. And that is, you can get tickets for that, islandetickets.com/event/Stand Up South, or call the ticket hotline.
Me.
780-7859. You can WhatsApp me as well. And after that, we have the Laugh on the Avenue show, which I believe is the June 29th. I may be mistaken there, but you can check out their page, Laugh on the Avenue, on Instagram for the details for that. That's also at Sapa. In early July, you can check out Randy Glasgow's page, because we have a show in Arima at the Velodrome. And those are the next 3 shows that are on the agenda for me. I may have some other things as well, but you can always check out my social media at Simmy De Trini.
Simmy De Trini on everything.
Once you check it out, yes, Simmy De Trini on Facebook, Simmy De Trini Instagram, Simmy De Trini on Pornhub. Wherever you want to look for me, you will find Simmy De Trini.
Subscribe.
There. Subscribe. Hit that button. Hit it again.
Rhea-Simone, you are incredible.
Thank you.
Your story is incredible. step on my
take him
moment
out,
there, yes.
take him out.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
we
It
didn't
was
get-
wonderful.
It was
We didn't
amazing.
get to half of what we intended to talk about, so you had to come back.
At some point in the near future, we will organize to do this again.
Schedule providing.
Yeah.
Facts, yeah.
That's it. That's how it is, and I'm happy to be here as well because I know that as Francis president of the Redman Association of San Fernando, or is it vice president?
What?
I
wasn't
I don't know what you're talking
Rome?
about. I haven't been to a meeting
Is
in
it
years.
Is Franz Cass Rome? Who it is?
I have not been to a meeting in
Maybe for
years.
2024.
I'm not even in the executive anymore.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? It's still good to be in San Fernando and environs.
South is love.
Yeah, South is love. And I do hope that they show up for me. I'm a South person too, by the way. People don't know this.
She is.
Like, no,
She
like
is.
it's on my birth paper. Born San Fernando.
Nah, South will show up for you for sure.
Yeah.
We say that. Bonus.
All
Take
right.
us out.
Guys, I'm going to take us out. Thank you once again for tuning into the Laymans Project and spending time with us and Simmy. So we hope to bring more interesting content like this for you guys in the future. So please support our content as well as Simmy's. And let's make it happen. Till next
Boom.
time.
Bless out.